We got the battle for Paul Bunyan. Michigan and Michigan State set to tee it up in Ann Arbor. Both these programs coming off a bye week. Michigan's favored by 22.5, 7:30 Eastern kick. This one could be a little bit intriguing in terms of the whole take shape Saturday kind of storyline. I think we learn a lot about both programs, but I'm really looking at Michigan because we've talked about them a lot being a college football playoff contender yet again with a new quarterback, all the things that are new. I think there's still a fair amount of questions we have, not in a negative way, but just of, hey, how much more do you have in the tank? How much more can you do if you're Michigan? So, it's a whole other conversation for another time, but just something to keep an eye on in this game. Michigan wants this one because think back to last year, and they were up 16. They had this game won. They were ready to go home with a W and feel good. One thing led to another. Kenneth Walker had a day. Michigan State won that football game. And Michigan remembers that one. They remember that one very, very clearly. Players talk about the bus ride back just being horrific. And so that has stuck with them and will carry over into this game. And you can expect a motivated Michigan team. Obviously, it's a rivalry game, but because of what happened last year, they're out for it this year. I'll leave it at that. Michigan State, the year hasn't gone how they expected, right? Mel Tucker, huge contract. Look to this year, they're 3-4. It's not the kind of year you drew up if you're a Michigan State fan. So, with that being said, this has a chance to be their Super Bowl. Like you talk about stuff to play for when you're at 3-4, your rival, you go into their house and you have a chance to make some noise, rattle their cage. Think about this. If Michigan State, if they win this game and they're the reason that Michigan gets left out of the college football playoff, it could not get any sweeter for the folks in East Lansing. So if you need storylines, there is no shortage of storylines to chew on in a 22.5-point favorite game for Michigan versus Michigan State. Hinge points for us. Can Michigan hold momentum? On top of that, can Michigan keep from having to share momentum? Because a scenario you'd want to avoid, a scenario that would, I think, give life to Michigan State is, let's say, Michigan State receives the opening kickoff. Go down the field 7 points. Okay. All right, Michigan, you got to answer now. Michigan comes out, fluky turnover, right? Maybe it's a bad snap. Maybe it's a tip pass off someone's hands. Ball goes to Michigan State. You're down 14-0. At that point, Michigan State starts to have some belief. The crowd in Ann Arbor maybe starts to turn the volume down just a little bit, and then you're having to play catch-up for a young quarterback that's in a new situation and running the football. You still do it, as much as you want to, really, but you start to think a little bit more like, hey, do we got to put the ball in the air here? How many do we have to score to win this game? That's a scenario where momentum could breathe some life into Michigan State. Because the reality is Michigan owns every edge in this game, and that's not a knock on Michigan State. Michigan has just got some dogs. They just, quite frankly, they do. There's not a scenario or not a matchup you look at if you're Michigan to say, I don't know if we like that one. You own every matchup. Can you capitalize on those, especially early? That will be crucial for the belief and momentum that you don't allow Michigan State to have, because that's what has to happen in upsets, right? Opposing team, dog gets a little bit of fight, gets a little bit of growl, things get weird. The other question I have is, does J.J. McCarthy get more access to the overall attack for Michigan's offense? Think about it this way. When you were preparing to get your license and you're driving the car, you probably drove in parking lots, right? You probably just sort of cruised along, make a left turn here, make a right turn there, and you have some adult sitting shotgun with you, right? And their hands on the wheel. So if you did something crazy as a new driver, they could tug that thing right back into focus and, hey, we're good. For J.J. McCarthy, Cade McNamara is, to my understanding, expected to be available for this game. So there's a little bit more of a safety net. And Michigan State, I don't know if they scare you that much. So I'm saying, what happens if Jim Harbaugh takes his hand off the wheel, says, JJ, you got your license. You started a few games now. You drive. Take over. You do what you want to do. Not saying he's going to call plays, but just they open it up more for him, allow him to push the ball downfield more. They put the ball in the air more. What happens? There's obviously two scenarios, but I'm fascinated by both of them. The first of which is J.J. McCarthy soars. Gets more things on his plate. He eats good. The offense scores a lot of points because of J.J. McCarthy, not just the run game. I think for Michigan, you'd love to win that way because of the confidence it gives you in your quarterback and your offensive attack. Think about how much more multiple you can be if you're Michigan and get that done. Because then you're not just a running team. I mean, you can run the ball, but guess what? You can hit the ball deep as well. Some good things happening for Michigan if that's the story for J.J. McCarthy, because we haven't seen that yet. It's been a little bit more of a run the ball, let J.J. get comfortable, let him develop, which is a luxury. But there's going to be a point in time where the hand goes off the wheel. Is it this game? I think it's a perfect opportunity because Michigan State secondary, not awesome, allowing around 270 yards a game. So does the hand stay on the wheel or come off the wheel? The other scenario, if the hand's off the wheel, is JJ sort of yanks that steering wheel around and it could get kind of uncomfortable. What would that look like? Gosh, I don't know, 2 interceptions and a fumble. I'm just saying we haven't seen it yet from him. We don't know for a fact that growth and that awkward phase isn't still there somewhere. It could happen in a game like this. Rivalry game, nerves are high, juice is high, a lot of intensity. This could be that scenario where if you're J.J. McCarthy, you have that uncomfortable, awkward phase growing experience. There's 2 scenarios there, right? We'll see what happens, but that could be fascinating because if that latter happens, then the game's interesting in the 3rd and 4th quarter. Needless to say, a 3-turnover Michigan team, things get interesting. At the end of the day, I think Michigan's run game is the difference. And that's not novel analysis. They're one of the best running teams in the entire country. Blake Corum should be in the Heisman conversation. Donovan Edwards, absolute freak show, right next to him in the backfield. If they can run the football, all bets are off for Michigan State. I mean, that's just the way this thing goes. Blake Corum averaging 6 yards a carry. They're averaging 241 yards on the ground. And even if things don't go super smoothly for J.J. McCarthy, if they give him more leash and he doesn't necessarily soar with it, let's say he does average 1 touchdown, 1 pick, okay, well, guess what? We can still play bully ball. That kid on the playground, that's bigger than you, that has a mustache in the 6th grade, already has body odor, he can still body up and get whatever he wants to on the playground. And make no mistake, that is the attitude that Michigan would love to take in this game as well. Be able to take back what they feel is theirs, avenge the loss from last year, and get a big win over Sparty. That would be what I think they'd like to do. At the end of the day, that's what we think they do. We like Michigan to win this game in convincing fashion. J.J. McCarthy, I think he actually does get more on his plate, does do well. The offense does well. 45 points, what we think they score. Final score, Michigan 45-10 over the rival. Paul Bunyan heads back to Ann Arbor. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.